Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of the HSV Determination, watching the stars through the wide window. After 3 months of traveling faster than light, they had finally reached the Proxima Centauri system. This was humanity's first journey beyond their home solar system. Everyone on Earth was waiting to hear what they would find. "Captain, we have something on the sensors," said Lieutenant Park So-min from her station. She was the ship's scientist, trained to study any alien life they might discover. Her voice carried excitement and worry at the same time. Lee Daeho walked over to look at her screen. 3 large objects were moving toward them. They were not natural asteroids or comets. These were ships, but unlike anything humans had ever built. The ships had strange curves and seemed to glow with their own light. "How big are they?" asked Commander Kim Tae-woo, the head of ship security. His hand moved toward his weapon, but he did not draw it yet. "Each one is about twice the size of our ship," Park So-min replied. "They're sending some kind of signal, but I can't understand it." Ambassador Choi Hee-jin stepped forward. She had been chosen by Earth's government to speak for humanity if they met aliens. "This is what we trained for," she said calmly. "Let's try to communicate peacefully." The alien ships surrounded the Determination but did not attack. Instead, they began scanning the human vessel with beams of blue light. Lee Daeho felt his ship shake slightly as the alien technology examined every part of it. "Captain, they're scanning us deeply," reported Park So-min. "They're looking at our biology, our technology, even our computer systems. I think they're trying to learn everything about us." A new voice suddenly came through the ship's speakers. It spoke perfect English, though it sounded strange and mechanical. "Human vessel, you will prepare for boarding. We are representatives of the Galactic Confederation. You have entered our space without permission." Ambassador Choi stepped toward the communication system. "This is Ambassador Choi Hee-jin, representing the planet Earth and all humanity. We come in peace. We're explorers seeking contact with other intelligent species." There was a long pause before the alien voice responded. "Peace is noted. However, your species presents complications. Prepare for inspection." 20 minutes later, strange beings appeared on the Determination's bridge in flashes of light. The humans had never seen anything like them. Some looked like large insects walking on 2 legs with shining black skin and multiple eyes. Others appeared to be made of living crystal, changing colors as they moved. The insect-like being spoke first. Its voice came from a small device attached to its chest. "I am Investigator Vex of the Kavari. This is Analyst Zin of the Nethys people. We must examine your species for classification." Park So-min stepped forward, trying to hide her fear. "Classification for what?" The crystal being Zin made sounds like wind chimes as it spoke. "All species are classified by threat level when they achieve space travel. Most species are Category Blue, peaceful. Some are Category Yellow, competitive but manageable. Few are Category Orange, dangerous but containable. And Category Red?" asked Lee Daeho, though he was not sure he wanted to know. Investigator Vex's multiple eyes focused on him. "Category Red species are those capable of destroying galactic civilization. In 50,000 years, only 3 species have received this classification. 2 destroyed themselves. 1 was destroyed by the Confederation. The alien examination took 6 hours. They studied everything about the humans, their blood, their brains, their emotions, their technology. They asked thousands of questions about Earth's history, human wars, human science, and human dreams. During the examination, Park So-min tried to learn about the aliens. She discovered that the Galactic Confederation included hundreds of species across thousands of worlds. Most had been peaceful for centuries or even millennia. War was rare. Technology advanced slowly. Everything was stable and controlled. "Your species is very different," Analyst Zin told her. "Most species develop space travel over millions of years. You achieved it in less than 100,000 years of civilization. This is unusual." "Is that bad?" Park So-min asked. "We do not know yet," Zin replied, its crystal body flashing orange. When the examination ended, all the humans were called to the bridge. Investigator Vex and Analyst Zin stood before them, along with several other aliens who had appeared during the inspection. "The examination is complete," Vex announced. "The species designation for humanity is decided." Ambassador Choi stepped forward. "We hope you found that we're a peaceful people. We want to join your confederation and learn from other species." Vex's compound eyes seemed to focus on each human individually. "Your intentions appear peaceful. However, intentions can change. Your species shows remarkable adaptation ability. Your immune systems can fight diseases that would kill most galactic species. Your brains can solve problems faster than species with twice your intelligence. Your emotions drive you to overcome any obstacle. These sound like good things, said Commander Kim Tae-woo. Perhaps, said Analyst Zin. But your history shows constant warfare, rapid technological advancement, and refusal to accept limitations. When faced with problems, humans do not adapt gradually like other species. You completely change your approach until you succeed. Lee Dae-ho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. What classification are you giving us? Investigator Vex was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was filled with something that might have been sadness. Humanity is classified as Category Red. You are considered an existential threat to galactic civilization. The bridge fell silent. Ambassador Choi found her voice first. But we haven't done anything wrong. We haven't hurt anyone. No, agreed Zin. But our computer models, based on your biology and psychology, predict a 97% probability that humanity will eventually attempt to dominate or destroy other species. This is not malice. This is simply what humans are designed to do. That's not true, protested Park So-min. We can choose to be better. Vex looked at her with what might have been pity. Perhaps. But the Confederation cannot risk the extinction of trillions of beings on the possibility that humans will choose differently than their nature suggests. The aliens began to disappear in flashes of light, returning to their ships. Before Investigator Vex vanished, he spoke one last time. Captain Lee Dae-ho, your ship will be escorted back to your solar system. Earth will be placed under quarantine. No human vessel will be permitted to leave your system. This is for the protection of the galaxy. And if we refuse? Asked Lee Dae-ho. Then the Confederation will take stronger measures, Vex replied. We hope this will not be necessary. As the alien ships departed, the crew of the Determination sat in shocked silence. They had traveled to the stars hoping to find friends among the cosmos. Instead, they had learned that humanity was considered the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The journey home took 3 months. During that time, the crew struggled to understand what had happened. They had done nothing wrong, yet they were being punished. They had sought peace, yet they were classified as a threat. But perhaps most troubling of all, some of them began to wonder if the aliens were right. 6 months had passed since the Determination returned to Earth with terrible news. Admiral Yoon Jae-sung stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching the enemy ships that surrounded their solar system. The alien blockade was like an invisible wall that trapped humanity in their home. The Confederation had placed massive machines in space around the solar system. These machines created a field that stopped any ship from traveling faster than light. Dr. Lim Hanul had explained it to the Admiral many times, but he still found it hard to understand. The important thing was simple. Humanity was trapped. How many ships do they have out there? Admiral Yoon asked his aide, Lieutenant Seo Dong-hyun. At least 50 that we can detect, Seo replied, looking at his tablet. But there might be more hidden from our sensors. They rotate their positions every few days. President Nam Soo-jin appeared on the large screen at the front of the command center. She was calling from Earth's capital and she looked tired. The stress of the situation was wearing on everyone. Admiral, what's the status of our breakthrough attempts? She asked. Admiral Yoon sighed. We've tried 17 different approaches in the past month. Dr. Lim's team thinks they're getting closer, but every time we test something, the aliens adjust their blockade to stop it. The problem was not just the blockade itself. The Confederation had made it clear that any attempt to break through would be seen as an act of war. So far, they had only disabled human ships that tried to escape, not destroyed them. But everyone wondered how long that patience would last. Dr. Lim Hanul was working 18 hours a day in her laboratory, trying to find a way through the alien barrier. She had been studying pieces of alien technology left behind from the first contact. It was incredibly advanced, but she was beginning to understand how it worked. The aliens think in very stable patterns, she explained to her assistant, Dr. Park Min-soo. Their technology hasn't changed much in thousands of years. They make things that work and then never improve them. Is that bad for them? Park asked. It means they might not expect us to find new solutions, Lim replied. Humans don't think like that. When something doesn't work, we change our approach completely. While Dr. Lim worked on technology, Agent Seo Dong-hyun had a different mission. He was trying to make contact with aliens who might help humanity. The Confederation appeared united, but Seo suspected that not all species agreed with the quarantine. Using captured alien communication equipment, Seo had been sending secret messages into space. Most received no response, but a few had been answered. Some aliens seemed curious about humans. Others seemed afraid of their own government. One message had been especially interesting. It came from someone who called themselves Friend of Small Species. The message was short. Not all of us agree with the cage they have built around you. Some of us remember when we were trapped too. Seo brought this message to Admiral Yoon. Sir, I think there might be aliens who will help us. Or it might be a trap, the Admiral replied. The Confederation might be testing us to see if we'll try to make allies. Maybe, Seo agreed. But what if it's real? What if there are aliens who disagree with this quarantine? Meanwhile, Dr. Lim had made an important discovery. The alien blockade machines worked by creating a specific type of energy field, but she had found that this field had small gaps that opened and closed very quickly. If we could time it perfectly, she explained to Admiral Yoon, a small ship might be able to slip through during one of these gaps. How small? The Admiral asked. Very small. Maybe big enough for one person and basic life support. And the timing would have to be perfect to the microsecond. Admiral Yoon considered this. A single person in a tiny ship would not be much of a threat to the galaxy, but they could carry information, messages, and maybe find allies. How long would it take to build such a ship? He asked. Give me 2 weeks, Dr. Lim replied. Those 2 weeks were busy ones. Dr. Lim and her team worked around the clock to build the smallest spacecraft possible. Meanwhile, Seo continued his secret communications with mysterious aliens, and Admiral Yoon planned for what might happen if their escape attempt worked. The ship they built was barely large enough for one person. It had no weapons, very little fuel, and only enough life support for a few days. But it was designed to be invisible to most sensors and to move very fast through the gap in the blockade. The question was who would pilot it. Many volunteers stepped forward, but Admiral Yoon chose Colonel Baek Min-ho. He was an experienced pilot and had trained in alien technology analysis. If anyone could survive alone in space and make contact with friendly aliens, it would be him. The night before the attempt, Colonel Baek met with the Admiral one last time. If you make it through, what's your plan? Admiral Yoon asked. Find the aliens who have been sending us messages, Baek replied. Learn everything I can about the Confederation. Look for species who might help us, and if you're captured, I'll tell them I'm just one man trying to explore. I won't reveal anything about our escape plans or our technology. Biko. Escape attempt happened at 3:47 hours on a Tuesday. Dr. Lim had calculated that the gap in the blockade would be largest at that exact moment. Colonel Baek's tiny ship launched from the dark side of the moon, accelerating as fast as possible toward the calculated gap. For 15 seconds, nothing happened. Then alien ships began moving toward the breach point, but they were too late. Baek's ship had already slipped through the gap and was racing away at nearly the speed of light. The Admiral watched from Luna Base as alien ships searched the area where Baek had escaped. They seemed confused and angry. For the first time since the quarantine began, humanity had surprised them. 3 days later, they received a brief message from Colonel Baek. It was just 2 words: contact made. The aliens responded to the escape by strengthening their blockade. More ships arrived, and the gaps in their energy field became smaller. But the damage was done. Humanity had proven that the quarantine was not perfect. More importantly, they had proven something to themselves. The aliens had said humans were dangerous because they refused to accept limitations. Maybe that was true, but perhaps that refusal was exactly what humanity needed to survive. President Nam Soo-jin called another meeting with Admiral Yoon. This time, she looked different. The tired expression was gone, replaced by something that looked like determination. Admiral, I want you to start a new project, she said. Build more ships like the one Colonel Baek used. Train more pilots. Find more ways through their blockade. Ma'am, that could be seen as an act of war, Admiral Yoon warned. The way I see it, President Nam replied, they already declared war on us the day they decided to trap us here. We're just finally starting to fight back. As the meeting ended, Admiral Yoon realized something had changed. For 6 months, humanity had been afraid. They had tried to prove they were peaceful, hoping the aliens would change their minds, but the aliens had made it clear that would never happen. They believed humans were dangerous and nothing would convince them otherwise. So perhaps it was time to stop trying to prove them wrong. Perhaps it was time to prove them right. The quarantine had been meant to contain humanity. Instead, it had given them something they had never had before, a common enemy and a reason to unite. The aliens had wanted to keep humans from becoming a threat to the galaxy. But by trapping them, they had forced humanity to become exactly what they feared most, a species with nothing left to lose. 2 years had passed since Colonel Beck Min-ho's escape through the alien blockade. During that time, humanity had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Dr. Ryu Yejin stood in her laboratory, looking at the test results that would have been impossible to believe just months earlier. "The enhancement program is working better than we hoped," she told her assistant, Dr. Kang Subin. "The volunteers are showing improvements in reaction time, problem-solving ability, and physical strength that exceed our projections." The enhancement program had started as a desperate attempt to help humans survive in space, but it had become something much more. By studying alien biology and combining it with human genetics, Dr. Ryu had found ways to make humans stronger, faster, and smarter. "Are there any side effects?" Dr. Kang asked, reviewing the data on her tablet. "Some increased aggression and competitiveness," Dr. Ryu admitted. "But that might not be a bad thing given our situation." In another part of the solar system, Captain Huang Jiwu was testing humanity's newest achievement, ships that could hide from alien sensors. His vessel, the Shadow Wind, was virtually invisible to the Confederation's detection systems. "How many ships do we have like this now?" asked his co-pilot, Lieutenant Yu Sang-min. 50 completed, with 20 more being built each month," Huang replied. "Admiral Yoon wants 100 before we begin the next phase." The next phase was something that would have horrified the peaceful humans of 3 years ago. Humanity was planning to establish secret colonies beyond the quarantine zone, not to explore or trade, but to build bases for a war that everyone knew was coming. Colonel Beck had sent regular reports from his travels beyond the blockade. He had made contact with several alien species, and the news was both good and bad. The good news was that not every species supported the Confederation's decision to quarantine humanity. The bad news was that many aliens were genuinely afraid of what humans might become. "I've learned something important," Beck had reported in his latest message. "The Confederation isn't as united as they pretend. There are species who were forced to join after being conquered, others who disagree with the current leadership, and some who have their own enemies. One of these enemies was the ThreatHFY, a collection of militaristic species that had been fighting the Confederation for centuries. Colonel Beck had made contact with them, and they were very interested in humanity's situation. The Vorth see us as potential allies," Beck explained in a secret meeting with Earth's leadership via quantum communication. "They don't care if we're Category Red. In fact, they think it's a good thing." President Nam Soo-jin listened carefully to Bayek's report. The quarantine had forced her to make decisions she never thought she would have to make. "What do the Vorth want from us?" "Technology sharing and military cooperation," Beck replied. "They're willing to provide us with resources and safe havens for our colonies in exchange for our advanced technology." This created a moral dilemma for humanity. The ThreatHFY was not peaceful. They conquered weaker species and enslaved entire worlds. Allying with them would make humanity complicit in their actions. But the alternative was remaining trapped forever, slowly weakening as the Confederation's blockade prevented them from expanding or growing. Counselor An Kyung-soo, Earth's representative for military affairs, was strongly in favor of the alliance. "The Confederation has already decided we're dangerous," he argued. "They're treating us like criminals for crimes we haven't committed. Maybe it's time we gave them something real to worry about." Dr. Park So-min, who had been on the original First Contact mission, disagreed. "If we ally with the Vorth, we become exactly what the aliens said we were. We proved that their fears were justified. Their fears were creating themselves from the beginning," replied Counselor An. "They trapped us here and forced us to become desperate. They created the very threat they were trying to prevent." While the leadership debated, Dr. Ryu continued her enhancement programs. The volunteers were not just soldiers anymore. Scientists, engineers, and pilots were all being enhanced to work better in the dangerous environment beyond Earth. "We're creating a new kind of human," Dr. Ryu explained to a secret committee, "one adapted for survival in a hostile galaxy. Enhanced humans can think faster, react quicker, and survive in conditions that would kill normal humans. The enhanced humans were already proving their worth. Teams of them had successfully established 3 hidden colonies in distant star systems. These colonies were built inside asteroids or on the dark sides of planets, invisible to Confederation sensors. Each colony was equipped with manufacturing facilities that could build ships, weapons, and more enhanced humans. They were designed to be completely self-sufficient and could remain hidden for decades if necessary. Captain Huang had been to all 3 colonies, delivering supplies and personnel using the stealth ships. "It's amazing what we've accomplished," he told Admiral Yoon. 2 years ago we were trapped in our own solar system. Now we have a secret fleet and hidden bases across the galaxy. But perhaps the most significant development was happening in Dr. Lim Ha-Nul's research facility. She had been reverse engineering alien technology since the quarantine began, and her latest project was the most ambitious yet. "I think I've figured out how to build our own faster-than-light inhibitor," she announced to a gathering of Earth's top scientists and military leaders. "We could create our own quarantine zones." The implications were staggering. If humanity could trap alien fleets the same way they had been trapped, it would change the balance of power completely. "How long would it take to build?" asked Admiral Yoon. 6 months for a prototype," Dr. Lim replied. "Maybe a year for a full-scale system." President Nam made her decision that same day. "Begin construction immediately," she ordered, "and send a message to Colonel Baek. Tell him we're ready to discuss terms with the Fourth Empire." The message that went out to the hidden colonies was simple. Phase 3 is beginning. Prepare for active operations. Within weeks, enhanced human teams began conducting reconnaissance missions deep in Confederation space. They gathered intelligence about alien military capabilities, political divisions, and potential targets. The information they brought back painted a picture of a confederation that was far from the united, peaceful alliance it claimed to be. Many species were held in line by fear rather than loyalty. Others had grievances against the ruling council that had been simmering for centuries. "We're not the first species they've done this to," reported Agent Lee Young-hee, one of the enhanced spies. "There are at least 6 other species currently under quarantine. And there used to be more, but they were eventually destroyed when they tried to break free." This news changed everything. Humanity wasn't facing a just government trying to maintain peace. They were facing an empire that used fear and violence to maintain control. The moral arguments against allying with the Fourth Empire became much weaker when compared to the reality of what the Confederation actually was 3 months later. The first joint human-Vorth operation took place. A Confederation supply convoy was attacked by Vorth ships equipped with human stealth technology and enhanced human crews. The attack was completely successful, and the convoy was destroyed without the attackers being identified. In the aftermath, Confederation forces blamed the Fourth Empire for developing new technology. They had no idea that humans were involved. "This is just the beginning," Counselor An told a secret session of Earth's government. "We have 300 enhanced humans operating beyond the quarantine. We have 50 stealth ships and growing manufacturing capacity. And now we have allies who can provide us with resources and strategic support." Dr. Park So-min watched the reports of the convoy attack with mixed feelings. Part of her was proud of how far humanity had come. They had overcome impossible odds and turned their imprisonment into an opportunity. But another part of her wondered what they were becoming. The humans who had launched the Determination 3 years ago had been explorers seeking peace and knowledge. The humans planning attacks on alien convoys were something very different. Perhaps that was inevitable. Perhaps the Confederation had been right about humanity's nature from the beginning. Or perhaps they had simply forced humanity to become what they feared most. A species that refused to accept any limitation, including moral ones. As she watched enhanced human soldiers training for their next mission, Dr. Park realized that the question of whether humanity was naturally dangerous no longer mattered. They were dangerous now, and that might be the only way they could survive. 4 years after first contact, Ambassador Oh Sung-hwan stood in the war room of a Vorth battle station, looking at a holographic map of the galaxy. Red dots showed Confederation territories, blue dots showed Vorth holdings, and green dots marked the locations of humanity's secret colonies. There were more green dots than anyone had expected. Your species adapts remarkably quickly, said General Thax, the Vorth military commander. His species looked like upright lizards with armored skin and bright yellow eyes. In 4 years, you have established 47 hidden bases and built over 300 ships. Ambassador O smiled grimly. When your survival depends on it, humans can accomplish almost anything. The alliance between humanity and the Vorth Empire had grown stronger each month. Human technology had revolutionized Vorth military capabilities, while Vorth resources had allowed humanity to expand far beyond what they could have achieved alone. But humanity had also made contact with other enemies of the Confederation. The Keth Syndicate, a group of trading species that had been economically suppressed by Confederation policies. The Free Worlds Alliance, planets that had rejected Confederation membership and been punished for it. Even some rebel groups within Confederation space itself. The Red Alliance, as they had started calling themselves, now included over 30 different species and political groups, all united by their opposition to Confederation rule and their willingness to work with the supposedly dangerous humans. General Kang Mi-young, Earth's top military strategist, was attending the meeting via secure communication from one of the hidden human bases. We now have the capability to strike directly at Confederation military targets, she reported. Our enhanced crews can operate deep behind enemy lines for months without support. The enhanced humans had exceeded everyone's expectations. Dr. Rue's program had created people who could survive in hostile environments, think faster than normal humans, and adapt to alien technology with remarkable speed. Some could even communicate telepathically with certain alien species. What about our special project? Asked Ambassador O. Dr. Jin Woo-sung appeared on another communication screen. He was humanity's lead weapons researcher and had been working on something that would change the balance of power permanently. The Planet Cracker is ready for testing, he announced. The Planet Cracker was exactly what its name suggested, a weapon capable of destroying entire worlds. It used principles learned from alien technology combined with human engineering to create a device that could shatter a planet's core and render it uninhabitable within hours. Are we really going to use something like that? Asked Ambassador O. The question had been troubling him for months. General Thax laughed, a sound like grinding stones. The Confederation has similar weapons. They have used them before against species that refuse to surrender. Why should you limit yourselves when your enemies do not? This was the moral problem that haunted humanity's leadership. Every step they took to survive made them more like the threat the Confederation had claimed they were. But stopping meant accepting permanent imprisonment or eventual destruction. Spy Master Lee Young-hee had been gathering intelligence throughout Confederation space for over a year. Her reports painted a picture of an empire that ruled through fear and manipulation. The Confederation Council claims to represent all species equally, she reported from a hidden base near the galactic core. But in reality, 12 species control everything. The other 347 member species have no real voice in decisions. Even more disturbing was what she had learned about the Category Red classification system. It's not really about threat assessment, Lee explained. It's about control. Any species that develops too quickly or shows too much independence gets classified as dangerous. Then they're either quarantined or destroyed. This information was shared with all members of the Red Alliance, and the reaction was immediate. Several species that had been neutral or even supportive of the Confederation began reconsidering their positions. We're not fighting for conquest, Ambassador O explained to a gathering of Alliance leaders. We're fighting for the right to exist and grow without permission from a government that fears change. The first major Red Alliance offensive was planned for the anniversary of humanity's first contact. It would be a coordinated strike against 12 Confederation military bases, designed to show that the Alliance was now a serious threat. Captain Yu Sang-min led one of the human strike teams. His ship, the Void Hunter, was equipped with the latest stealth technology and crewed entirely by enhanced humans. They could remain undetected while conducting operations that would be impossible for normal humans. Remember, Captain Yu told his crew as they approached their target, we're not just fighting for humanity anymore. We're fighting for every species that has been told they're not allowed to grow, change, or dream of something better. The strikes happened simultaneously across 3 different sectors of the galaxy. Human ships appeared without warning, destroyed their targets with devastating efficiency, and vanished before Confederation forces could respond. But these were not random attacks. Each target had been carefully chosen for strategic and symbolic value. The bases that were destroyed had been used to enforce quarantines against other species or to threaten worlds that showed too much independence. The message was clear. The Red Alliance was no longer hiding. They were ready for open war. The Confederation's response was swift and brutal. They began a massive military buildup and started putting pressure on neutral species to choose sides. Several worlds that had been sympathetic to the Alliance were invaded and occupied. "They're forcing everyone to pick a side," reported Colonel Beck, who was now coordinating human intelligence operations across the galaxy. "Some species are joining us because they're afraid of what the Confederation will do to them if they remain neutral." This escalation worried some members of humanity's leadership. Dr. Song Ji-hye, who had become Earth's leading voice for ethical concerns, argued that humanity was losing its moral authority. "We started this as victims defending ourselves," she said during a heated government session. "Now we're leading a galactic war that could destroy billions of lives. When did we become the aggressors?" President Nam Soo-jin, who had aged visibly during the 4 years of conflict, struggled with the same questions. "What choice do we have?" she asked. "If we stop fighting, the Confederation will eventually destroy us and probably our allies too. If we continue, we might become the monsters they said we were." The answer came from an unexpected source. Messages began arriving from Confederation species expressing support for the Red Alliance. Not governments or military leaders, but ordinary citizens who were tired of living under authoritarian rule. "We have received over 10,000 messages of support from inside Confederation space," reported Communications Director Ko Yun-bi. "Many of them are from species that have been members for centuries. They're asking us to liberate them." This changed the moral calculation significantly. The Red Alliance was no longer just fighting for their own survival. They were fighting to free an entire galaxy from authoritarian control. "The Confederation made a mistake when they classified us as Category Red," Ambassador Oh said during a broadcast to all Alliance members. "They assumed that being dangerous meant being evil. But sometimes you have to be dangerous to protect the innocent." The Alliance began preparing for something much larger than hit-and-run attacks. They were planning to overthrow the Confederation, government entirely, and replace it with something that would allow all species to develop freely. It was an enormous undertaking that would require the combined efforts of dozens of species and millions of soldiers. But humanity had proven that the impossible was simply something that hadn't been accomplished yet. Dr. Jin's planet cracker weapons were moved into position near key Confederation worlds. Not to destroy them, but to ensure that the Confederation leadership would have to negotiate rather than fight to the death. "We're offering them the same choice they offered us," explained General Kang. "Surrender and accept limitations on their power, or face the consequences of their refusal." As the Red Alliance prepared for the final phase of their war, Ambassador Oh reflected on how much had changed since the Determination first encountered alien ships 4 years earlier. Humanity had gone from peaceful explorers to the leaders of a galactic revolution. They had become exactly what the Confederation had feared, a species capable of changing everything. But perhaps that was not a bad thing. Perhaps the galaxy needed to change. Perhaps the greatest threat to galactic civilization was not humanity's potential for destruction, but the Confederation's insistence on permanent stagnation. Soon, everyone would find out which vision of the future would survive. 7 years after first contact, Fleet Admiral Park Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of humanity's first dreadnought, the Terra's Wrath. Through the massive viewports, he could see the Confederation capital system spread before him like a glittering jewel. Hundreds of worlds orbited around 3 artificial stars, home to over 1 trillion beings, and humanity had the power to destroy it all. "Admiral, all Red Alliance fleets are in position," reported Captain Yu Sang-min from his station. The young pilot had become one of humanity's most decorated officers, leading dozens of successful missions against Confederation forces. "Confederation fleet strength?" asked Admiral Park. "Over 8,000 ships defending the capital," replied Lieutenant Commander Kim Do-young. "But our intelligence suggests that many of their crews are not fully committed to this fight." The war had escalated far beyond what anyone had imagined possible. What had started as humanity's struggle for survival had become a galactic civil war involving hundreds of species and thousands of worlds. The Red Alliance now controlled nearly a third of the galaxy. Human technology had revolutionized warfare, while human tactics had proven devastatingly effective against Confederation forces. Enhanced human soldiers could operate in environments and situations that would kill normal beings, and human ships equipped with hybrid technology were superior to anything the Confederation could field. But the cost had been enormous. Billions had died in the fighting. Entire star systems had been rendered uninhabitable, and humanity had been forced to make choices that would have horrified their peaceful ancestors. Dr. Song Ji-hai appeared on the communication screen, calling from Earth. She looked exhausted and worried. As humanity's leading ethicist, she had been questioning every decision for years. "Admiral, I have to ask one more time. Are we really going to do this?" she said. "If we attack the capital, we're not just threatening the Confederation government. We're threatening 1 trillion innocent lives." Admiral Park understood her concerns. The weapon systems on the Terra's Wrath could sterilize planets in hours. Human-designed viruses could target specific alien biologies and wipe out entire species. The Planet Cracker weapons could shatter worlds completely. "Dr. Song, what choice do we have?" he replied. "The Confederation Council has refused every offer of negotiation. They would rather see the galaxy burn than admit they were wrong about us." This was true. Despite the Red Alliance's overwhelming military advantages, the Confederation leadership had rejected all attempts at peaceful resolution. They claimed that accepting human demands would mean the end of galactic civilization. "They're right about one thing," said diplomat Ko Unbi, who was coordinating surrender negotiations with Confederation worlds. "If we win, their civilization will end. The question is what we'll build to replace it." That question had been troubling humanity's leadership for months. The Red Alliance had proven they could destroy the old order, but building something better was much more difficult. "We have received surrender offers from over 200 Confederation worlds in the past week," reported Intelligence Chief Lee Young-hee. "They're not surrendering to avoid destruction. They're surrendering because they want to join our alliance." This was perhaps the most surprising development of the entire war. As the Red Alliance had grown stronger, more and more Confederation species had decided they preferred human leadership to Confederation rule. "The humans keep their promises," explained one alien diplomat who had defected. "When they say they will protect smaller species, they actually do it. The Confederation only protected those who serve their interests. But not everyone in humanity was comfortable with their new role as galactic leaders. Enhanced human soldiers were reporting disturbing changes in their psychology. The genetic modifications that made them superior warriors were also making them more aggressive and domineering. "I sometimes don't recognize myself," reported Colonel Beck during a secure communication from a frontline base. "The enhancements make us more effective, but they also make us more willing to use extreme solutions. I worry about what we're becoming." Dr. Ryu Yejin had been monitoring these changes carefully. Her enhancement program had created the most effective soldiers in galactic history, but it had also created something that might not be entirely human anymore. "The enhanced humans are evolving beyond our original parameters," she explained to a secret committee. "They're developing new capabilities that we didn't design. Some can interface directly with alien technology. Others seem to have limited precognitive abilities." These developments worried Dr. Song even more than the military situation. "We're not just changing the galaxy," she argued. "We're changing ourselves, and we don't know what we're changing into." Admiral Park faced these concerns every day, but he also faced the immediate reality of the war. The Confederation had developed new weapons specifically designed to kill enhanced humans. They had begun targeting civilian populations in Red Alliance territory, and they had made it clear that they would rather destroy the galaxy than lose control of it. "Sir, we're receiving a communication from the Confederation capital," announced Communications Officer Han Ju-won. The main screen showed 12 alien beings, representatives of the species that controlled the Confederation Council. Admiral Park had never seen them before, but he recognized the arrogance and fear in their expressions. "Human Admiral," spoke their leader, a being that looked like a floating crystal formation. "We offer you one final opportunity to end this conflict peacefully." "I'm listening," Admiral Park replied. "Return to your quarantine zone. Accept permanent limitations on your expansion and technology development. In exchange, we will allow your species to continue existing under our supervision." Admiral Park was quiet for a long moment. Around him, his crew waited to see how humanity would respond to the same offer that had started this entire conflict 7 years ago. "No," he said simply. The alien leader seemed shocked. "You refuse, even knowing that we will fight to the complete destruction of both our civilizations, rather than accept your dominance?" "You're not offering us a choice," Admiral Park replied. "You're offering us a slower form of extinction. You want us to accept permanent inferiority because you're afraid of what we might become. You have already become what we feared," the alien shouted. "You lead an alliance that has conquered hundreds of worlds. You have weapons that can destroy entire star systems. You are exactly the threat we said you were." Admiral Park looked around his bridge at the enhanced humans who served under him. They were indeed more dangerous than the peaceful explorers who had first encountered the Confederation. But they were also protecting thousands of species that had been oppressed for millennia. "Maybe we are a threat," he admitted. "But we're a threat to tyranny, not to innocent life. We're a threat to the idea that some species have the right to control all others." The alien leader's crystalline form flashed angry red. "Then you have chosen destruction over wisdom. The Confederation will fight until the last ship in the last world. We will not surrender our authority to a Category Red species." The communication ended, leaving Admiral Park's bridge in silence. Everyone understood what this meant. There would be no negotiation, no compromise, no peaceful solution. "All ships, this is Admiral Park," he announced over the fleet communication system. "The Confederation has rejected our final offer. We are authorized to begin the liberation of the capital operation." As thousands of Red Alliance ships moved toward their targets, Admiral Park reflected on the 7 years that had brought them to this moment. Humanity had been classified as Category Red for their potential to threaten galactic civilization. Now they were about to prove that classification correct. But not in the way the Confederation had expected. They were not threatening civilization. They were threatening the corrupt system that had been strangling civilization for thousands of years. "Sir," said Captain Yu, "the Terra's Wrath is in position to begin bombardment." Admiral Park looked one last time at the beautiful, ancient capital system that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. In a few hours it would either be under new management or it would be a field of debris. "Begin the operation," he ordered, and with those words, humanity crossed the line from Category Red species to something the galaxy had never seen before, a species powerful enough to reshape the entire cosmic order, yet moral enough to do it responsibly, at least. That was what Admiral Park hoped they were becoming. Time would tell if he was right.